Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of the show with no name.
I'm Adaire Palmer and
I'm Theonie Roussianos.
I've never figured out which way to point.
The opposite way that you think it is.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's going to make it all right. The show with no name, dreamed up by Theonie and myself to help people in our local community and your local community to raise the profile and encourage awareness and support for what matters to you and your community. We love to help people. We used to say not-for-profits, but now we're going to say for-purpose organisations, charities and service clubs to connect with their local communities to raise brand awareness and help staff and volunteers work with them and become the best brand champions that they can be for their cause. That's cool if you're working for breast cancer and you wanted to raise awareness for that. That would totally work, wouldn't it? But
totally would. So totally would.
We are not working with breast cancer. We are working with. We have got.
Yes. We do. We've got the pleasure today of chatting with Debbi Kemp. Now, Debbi has been a volunteer puppy raiser with the Guide Dogs SA Northern Territory for over 4 years, volunteering roles including at Puppy Development Centre, fundraising, community talks, and she's a 3-time puppy raiser. Guide Dogs is in perfect alignment with Debbi's passion for natural healing for animals and autistic children. And, oh, my God, she shared some photos with us last night, and they're just the cutest. Welcome, Debbi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, girls. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, before we'll share some of the photos that you shared with us a little earlier, we've got some people online watching now. Hi, Glenn. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Glenn. Hi, Debbi. How are you going? I didn't see you come in. There's a bit of a lag here in the fact because I'm not driving the bus today. Theonie is. And now, Fredo, good to see you in the photo.
Hi there. How are you?
So, hi, Glenn. Hi, Alfredo. And hi, Sharon. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, yes. So we call that Sharon saying she's having trouble. So her Facebook must be having issues. Yeah, we call it Facebook. We call it some other names too, but they're not repeatable here. So.
Ooh.
Oh, there we go. So, are you there, Theonie? No, Theonie's gone. So that leaves just you and I. So we're going to have a chat. She's got a little thing scrolling across the bottom saying, please invite your friends to share this broadcast. So, before we get into the conversation and while we wait for Theonie to jump back in, I just ask you to please, if you're on your laptop, just click so that it goes to the large broadcast, and then you can invite your friends on the top right-hand corner to watch this broadcast with us live. And if you're on a mobile, it's just down the bottom of your screen. Just invite your friends to join us, because the more the merrier, and the more we can get the good works and the information out that people are doing here, the better it is for everybody. So, Debbi, Theonie's back now. Hello, nice
I'm
of you
back.
to join.
Everything froze, so I just refreshed. So thank you for flying the flag and continuing on.
That's how we work well together, like that. Debbi, it's all about you today. You and your puppies, Theonie. Pick it up where you left off with the photos.
Yes, the photos. Now I just need to share my screen again. Now you've got. Tell us a little bit about Shadi, who Shadi is, and how you came to keep her, first of all.
Okay, yes. Well, Shadi, and you've got photos of her there, so she'll come up. She's the Black Labrador. So 4 years ago, I was given Shadi at 9 weeks old to be a puppy raised, to be a guide dog. She was then picked as a brood dog. So she had 1 litter. She 5 black ones, 1 white one. She had 3 boys and 3 girls. She had a few complications. She had a cough, and so those puppies were actually hand reared. So poor girl, she wasn't liking motherhood much at all at that stage. And so I proposed to the guide dogs that I wanted to raise one of her puppies, and but at the time she was still a guide dog, so it was sort of a precedence that hadn't been done yet. But I said, well, you're allowed to have your own dog. So I wanted to raise one of hers. And I guess Oka was the white sheep of the family. So I always go for something different. And so I said I wanted to raise the white one because he was the white sheep of the family. So,
can you see the photo? Can you see the photos that I've just put up?
Yes, that's come up.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that tongue hanging out.
Yeah, that's at the dog park. They'd been running around for a little bit, so that was
a bit hilarious.
So that's Ocker and Shardy. So Ocker's the white one. Shardy's his mum. And so, and then when they realised that potentially they didn't know what caused her illness, between you and me, I think Shardy opted herself out of the program. And for that reason, they didn't want to take a risk of breeding with her again because they didn't know what caused it. So I got to keep her. And so now
Shardy knew she had it too good. Shardy had it too good in the Kemp household. She wasn't leaving.
Well, she's got her own Instagram account called Shardy-isms. So anyone who knows anything about Shardy knew that she did things her own way. So, so this is now Shardy's decided that she still does her charity work, but under my banner and the Delta Therapy banner rather than guide dogs. But she's a great mentor now. So we often get puppies just before we got Frankie, puppies come in and she mentors them. So they just spend a bit of time with an older dog and they've actually, we've done it with a few dogs now that they've been home.
Mm-hmm. Can Shardy spend time? Can Shardy spend time with my 13-year-old?
Oh, that's. Oh, I'm just wondering if we're. Looks like Debbie's gone.
Oh, Debbie's gone. So just going through some of these photos.
Aren't they gorgeous?
They are the cutest. So this is the day Shardy officially became Debbie's. Just while we get Debbie back on, now I am going to, because I've only got one.
I'm just looking at the
I'm just bringing Debbie back in.
The blonde dog, the white puppy with the entertainment book. We need to ask her about that too when she.
We will. She's back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I don't know. I got jacked off, but I'm back.
You're back. Now I'm just going back to the screen here. So we've got here, Ocker, the pin-up boy for the entertainment book.
Isn't that so adorable?
Yes. He was. That's Ocker. So that was the guide dogs do litters in alphabetical order. So all Shardy's puppies, all their names all started with O. So that was Ocker. And yes, because he was white, easier to photograph, but that was the entertainment book that as a fundraiser again for the guide dogs. So yeah, I love that photo.
As O-double-K-E-R?
O-C-K-E-R.
O-C-K.
He's just the cutest. So 6 months old here.
Yep, and that was a photo shoot we did with the guide dogs because I'd written a blog about what it was like to be a puppy raiser and all the questions I get asked continually. And so I wrote a blog about it and they shared it on their website and then we did a photo shoot to go with it.
Oh.
Now, tell us, so this is Frankie here at 5 months old. Tell us a little bit about Frankie.
Okay, so Frankie came from a litter of 3. She's got 2 brothers. Her mum originally was from Taiwan and her mum's gone back to Taiwan now and had another litter. And so we've got, Frankie's now 8 months old.
Oh, that's a bit cute. Cute.
And there's Shardy there with her Delta Therapy. Let me
go back there. Yep. I've just gone back to it.
Yeah, so Shardy now does Delta Therapy. So we go once a week just as all different places, people go to hospitals and aged mental care and businesses and we go to Headspace at the moment. And, so she just goes there as a bit of relief for some of the people waiting for counselling and they can just pat her and play with her. And so now she's got a role where she's got her uniform on and she can be patted, whereas with Frankie, if they've got their coats on, then they can't be patted.
Yeah, so the guide dogs, that's an important thing. So when you see guide dogs in training, you have to ask, don't you? Well, whether they're in training or otherwise, you do have to ask if you want to pat the dog, don't you?
Well, With the guide dogs,
and you shouldn't, you shouldn't generally.
The answer is always no, because basically, as cute as what they are, their role is to focus on their client. So it's not about them.
They're not playthings. Is that what you're saying?
When they're out and about, obviously when we're in public and they've got their jacket on, their role is that they're learning patience. Is basically, as a puppy raiser, we're teaching them patience. And because once they are with a client, they might go to the movies and out to dinner. So we actually do those things with them to prepare them for that. But obviously if you're relying on your dog to get you across the road, the last thing you want is somebody come up and fluff it up and get it all razzed up, and the dog completely loses focus on what it's supposed to be doing.
And
so if they're wearing their vest or the harness, just steer clear, don't touch. Look at it, admire it, and leave it at that.
It's interesting that you're saying it teaches them patience, but you would have to have that yourself to start. So I would imagine that the dogs would teach you as much as you teach them.
Oh, absolutely. I've got 2 kids and 2 grandkids and one on the way. And raising puppies, and it's the same. It's very similar to, they grow up faster, toilet train quicker, but it's it's still that patience and working with them, not against them.
Now, and then the other thing, they fly the coop quicker as well.
Yes,
so how do you, and you know that you're raising this puppy for the purpose of the dog then becoming a guide dog or a service dog of some sort. How do you handle handing the dog over? Surely you get attached.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the most asked question I get, hence why I wrote the blog when I did the photo shoot with Oka, because I went into this purely because I wanted to do more community work. And to me, it was a no-brainer because I got to do community work and volunteer work and play with puppies at the same time. There's that I obviously didn't have to give up Shardy. Shardy was, I got to keep her. But then Oka was her baby, so he was potentially my granddog. But I also knew that this was what I signed on for. So yes, there are tears, but then and there's the photo of him there with his blind client, that's just makes you so proud, and I always tell people, if you've got kids and grandkids, they're not yours. You don't own them. If that, once they leave and go off and do their own thing, whether they want to move interstate, overseas, or live on the other side of town, you just get to enjoy the time you get to do, and you don't own them. So we don't own these dogs, but we love the fact that if we're kept in the loop of how they're doing. And our purpose was, because I also say to people, if I got to keep them all, I'd end up with a house full of Labradors. And you don't want that.
Couldn't it?
You don't want that. I got 2 here at the moment, and I've had 3 at one stage too. So you don't really want a house full of Labradors. So apart from my Dyson, I was going to change my Facebook profile to in a relationship with my Dyson.
So Debbie, how do you manage to do this with everything else that you do? Because it's a hugely valuable service that you're providing. And I'm sure that and I know my husband used to work for Royal Society for the Blind, and they had that, I don't know if it was guide dogs, but they had an association with some of the animal, that organisations that did what you're doing. But it was like incredible the amount of time and energy that gets invested in this, and to be able to, because I know you're involved in a lot of stuff and you're doing a lot of amazing stuff, as well as your own business.
You froze up there.
Do you want to translate for me, Theonie? No,
I can't sign. So Adaire, no, it was actually Debbie. I think your connection was lost because it was you who froze on my screen then, but that's okay. We move with it. We go with it. So with everything that you do, Adaire was just saying that you do all sorts of amazing things, and you run a business, and puppy raising isn't the only thing that you do. You're not a retired grandmother who spends time looking after the grandchildren and raises puppies as well. You've got a whole lot of others.
I did yesterday. I was at Kinder Gym yesterday. And I saw Adaire's story.
My grandson too. I'm going, wow, where was I in the equation? We'll have to manage that, Debbie, so that we can get up there together with our grandkids. We could really go to town in the gym, couldn't we?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was great fun. It was great fun.
Raising the puppies is a full-time job. So the puppy's at your house from 9 to 5 and then it goes off. The puppy is at your house 24/7 while you're raising the puppy and training it for patients and all the other stuff that you need to do. So how do you fit it all in?
Well, again, as a puppy, the actual physical training part, they have a short-term attention span. So you can't introduce too much all at once anyway. So basically, because a lot of the stuff we do, it might take half an hour out of your day to do formal training, as in go to the and if you're going to the shops, basically all you're doing is asking them to walk alongside you, asking them not to, scab off the ground, asking them to sit. So there's things that if you're already going to the shops, already doing things, they're just coming with you. And then the home behaviour is basically just keeping the consistency of not allowing them to, jump on furniture, not allowing them to dig in the garden or do things like that. So you're just monitoring that. We have training sessions where we might all meet at Harbour Town or meet at Glenelg, and we might have 3 or 4 dogs. And, that might be an hour or so. I guess, it's all just part of the stuff you do. I mean, then with Shardy, we do the delta therapy for a couple of hours. It's that because her being a guide dog and then now not being able to go to public places with me like she used to, that's, our way of, we still got something, just the two of us to do. So,
Now, obviously, not every puppy raised graduates. They don't all become guide dog puppies for one reason or anything where people. Could you hear me?
No,
we're having a wonderful connection here.
Yeah.
So the puppies that don't graduate to becoming guide dogs or other service dogs, is there an adoption program that the guide dogs have where people like, Adaire and I, who aren't puppy raisers, can adopt one of the, you don't want to say failed puppy, like a puppy that didn't graduate. Let's just call them that.
Yeah, well, we actually on the website there is actually a section there. We call them that the dogs choose their own path, and I've seen it, and I wrote that in the blog that I'd sent you. That I've seen it over and over again, and I've met people on the beach and said, "Oh, we've got a failed guide dog." And but then they'll tell me they've got 2 autistic sons that the dogs just made such a difference. And I said, well, then you can hardly call it failed.
They're not failed.
Some choose to be of service in the capacity of a blind client, like Ocker. We've got another dog who was trained as an autism dog, but now he goes to Seymour College every day with his owner, and he's doing amazing stuff for those kids. The morale, their anxiety levels, their confidence, because they read to him. And we've got another one at another primary school helping out a little autistic girl. So they've all got their roles. Some of them choose to be pets, but the people that have got them as pets would say, best pet ever. Anyone who's got a pet loves their pet to bits. So, obviously, our priority is to try to get them through as service dogs, but you can't. If a dog doesn't want to do that, it doesn't. Shadi obviously didn't. So, but Ocker, again, did. And none of Shadi's other puppies were interested in being guide dogs either. But Ocker's sort of went over and above.
Now, do you know what it costs to raise a guide dog puppy? So Guide Dogs SA they have fundraisers. We talked about August, which I think is the cutest name for fundraiser ever.
And we have, it costs about $30,000 to
one
raise
puppy.
Yep. And we're volunteers. But then when they go into formal training, then you're paying a trainer to work with them every day. So there's the trainer's wages plus vet bills and food and all of the things that go with it. And yeah, we rely on the public for that fundraising and for things like August, and we had the CEO blind date, and we've done Central Market Days. And we've also got volunteer teams that you might see in shopping centres, you know, where they're asking people to sponsor a puppy, and then you get the kept update. We've got a little magazine that comes out quarterly, called Pup Dates, and so the people that sponsor, they get photos of their puppy, you know, how it's doing, how it's growing, what it's been up to, and so yeah, we've Central Market Days where we've got the little dog tins. Always great if you've got a dog with you, and yeah, people just put money into those. So yeah, we've got lots of ways of fundraising, but yeah, it does take a lot of money to get these dogs, but to get them off the ground, but to also, you know, they're invaluable to the service, what they're doing for people. Families of autistic children said they've given them back their life, because often they can't go out in public. Because the child may run out into oncoming traffic. The child has meltdowns, but with the dog, they've said that you know, their life is just so much calmer at home, and they've got that safety, because if the child is tethered to the dog, and if the child tries to run across the road, the dog just automatically sits. So the dog is like a big furry anchor, and the child can't run, so the dog will sit and prevent the child from running out into oncoming traffic.
Well, that's
something. It is, and the dogs are so intuitive. There's a slightly off topic, but it just shows what the dogs can do. There was a story before we went live. There was a story you shared with us regarding your grandson when he was running a fever, and the dogs just know, don't they? Do you want to share that story with everybody? Because the dogs just get it.
Yeah, well, my grandson, he lives in the country, so he hadn't been exposed to as many different places. And that week I was coaching kids basketball. I don't do it anymore. So, you know, before you go, oh my God, that's something else she does. But I was coaching kids basketball, and so he came out to watch that. So, you know, he was surrounded by a whole lot of new germs. Then we had a volunteer lunch that week as well. Then I took him to Victor Harbour. So he was just exposed to a whole lot of new germs, which is good, but he got a little fever because his body was then having to process all those new bugs. And I mean, he had little rosy cheeks, and I made him up a bed on the lounge, and he sat there and he was nodding off, and gave him some essential oils and cold compresses. And Shadi, of her own doing, stood, and she couldn't reach him without standing because the couch was too high. So she stood with her face on his chest, looking into his eyes, and she didn't move for 2 hours. Ocker laid in his bed at the end of the couch. He was wanting to participate, but I wasn't going to that length. And but Shadi never took her eyes off him for 2 hours. And the minute his fever broke, she got up and went to her bed. So that was not, you know, I didn't tell her to do that. You know, that was just her. And even now, if he has naps on the lounge, instead of, you know, he cons me sometimes, can I have a nap on the lounge instead of his bed? She runs over and checks on him, you know, to see if he's okay. So, and I go, it's okay, he's having a sleep. He's just having a sleep.
That is amazing. We're nearly out of time, Debbie, but do the guide dogs need puppy carers, and what sort of, you know, I think you'd have to go through a pretty rigorous selection process to be a puppy carer.
Well, basically, it has to be that you, there's, and all that information is on the website. So it's guidedogs, sant.org.au.
We have that. We'll put the link up here anyway, or put the link in the comments so you can have a look. Yeah,
but basically you have to be either retired or semi-retired, because you can't leave the dog home. The dog and some workplaces are now more open that, you know, you could have the dog at work with you if you're maybe working share work or part-time. So you take the dog to work for you if you're working for 2 or 3 hours, you know, in the day. And you have to be available to have the training sessions, you know, like if you know, we've got people that do work part-time and they would take the dogs to work with them, or they would have someone else at home looking after them. So, and the rest of it is just we're trained you know, it goes through a police clearance and all that sort of stuff, obviously. But the training is where it's offered to us on, you know, by the trainers. So we will go for scheduled walks, and they will say, you know, loosen the lead, or don't do that, or you know, they just give us tips, and then we just practice the tips. But you know, and every dog's different. So I mean, this is the third dog I've had, and they've all got different personalities. You know, you think,
like children.
So people are thinking about so do they have in terms of ratio of dogs to volunteers, puppy raisers? Are they looking for more, or do they have is there a waiting list? What's the story with that?
No. I mean, obviously we have to have pups here to do it, but there's so many other roles as volunteers. You know, I would always recommend, before anyone jumped in the deep end of being a puppy raiser, to do what we call short-term boarding. And a short-term boarder, you go through the same process of the like being screened and everything, but you might have a dog for a weekend. And you have to keep up the same criteria, but it's only, you know, and it might then get you, you know, primed up to either I want more of this, or that's not really my thing. So
so is this for, say, if you were going on a holiday for, you know, taking a weekend away, then those people would be there to look after your puppy for a couple of days?
And that's another good thing.
It's mostly that you would plan on taking the puppy with you, because that would be the part of the plan is if you
can. Like over Christmas, we're encouraged, if we can go somewhere that we can take the dog, to take them. But obviously, if you're going overseas or flying somewhere, that's not appropriate. But the good news is, I mean, there's no money. You know, everything, the expenses are covered. Plus, you never have to hound your friends and family to look after your dog when you go on holidays, because there's always someone within the circle that approved that will look after you. I mean, I went to Sydney last weekend, and Shadi and Frankie both went to a lady just down the road from me, and they had a ball, and you know, but they get treated exactly the same way as what they do at home. So that's not as if they got to jump on beds and jump on the furniture and then come home and go, that was great, where can we go there again?
Going to the other parent for the week, and the kid comes back a rat. So
it's the grandparents. It's when they go to the grandparents' house that the rules go out the window.
No, not me. Not me. I stick to the rules. I'm a good nana.
So check out the website for more information. So it's guidedogs.org.au. And
Guide Dogs SA.NT, I think.
I just Googled Guide Dogs SA.NT, and that's what it came up with. I copied and pasted from the top. I was doing stuff in the background. So and then you can get information there on, you know, you don't have to be a puppy raiser. You can purely donate money. Like Debbie said, it costs $30,000 to raise one puppy. And, you know, you just think about walking around with your eyes closed all day. This is what the people who need these dogs, that's what they're doing every day of their life.
Yeah, and I'm doing that with my dog. I get to do that next year with Oka.
When you do the blindfold walk you go around the city, you were telling us before we went live, Debbie, that you're doing that. We'd love to be there. We'd love to.
I'll check in with them, and I'm sure it'll be fun.
We'll hide in doorways, and we'll film you as you go past. I
mean, and that's sort of like the final hurrah from your puppy raiser. And another nice thing too is, you know, I often get asked is, people say, do they forget you? And they never do. They never do. Oka was away for 5 months in Queensland, and he actually, first time I saw him was this year, was Valentine's Day. So he went nuts when he saw me, but they recover really quickly. So it was basically like, wow, it was fantastic to see you, Mum. Got to go. You know, I've got job to do now. But yeah, it was lovely to see him. But it's also very comforting to know that they're not pining for you either. And that was one of my concerns. Like, I read the deal, I know the deal, but my concern was, what about the dogs? Do they think, where'd she go? Where'd the lady with the essential oils and the crazy stuff go? Where'd she go? And doesn't she love me anymore? And but you know, they Labradors adapt very well with as long as somebody loves them and feeds them.
That's beautiful. Debbi, thank you so much for joining us today, and especially at short notice. But thank you. We really, really appreciate it. Your story is fascinating, and you're doing amazing things to help people in the community, and the side benefits of, you know, the what you're getting for that for yourself and your family is just amazing. So everybody wins, don't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and I wouldn't, you know, there's some volunteer jobs that, you know, I always say to people, if it's not your thing, it's okay. It's okay. But there's a different volunteer job for everyone. And this one, I get just as much joy out of it as I know that I'm helping at the same time. So it's totally not a selfless act. I get plenty of joy.
I don't think
it's self-full. It's not selfish. It's self-full.
It's self-full.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Debbi.
Don't go anywhere. Debbi will be with you in a moment. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh my God, they are so cute.
I know. It just is amazing. The people that we talk to here and the people that are coming into our the show with no name is just a huge high quality of people with doing high quality things to help the community around them. So it's just amazing.
Yeah. And we're talking to normal everyday people who we're not talking to people, or we have spoken to people who are affiliated directly with charities, not-for-profits or for purposes or whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
We love talking to people who are in the community doing something to support those organisations as well. And because you don't have to work for them to be affiliated with them and to make a difference for somebody in any way, large or small. So if you've got something, or you know somebody in your community doing something to make a difference, no matter how big or small, get in touch with us, because we'd like to speak to you.
And we'd like you to. Yeah, well, that's right. And also, please share this broadcast. If you're here for the replay, please do share, because we rely on the help of you, people like you, to get the word out there, whether it is puppy caring or depression or kidney health or whatever it is that your cause is. We do rely on you to help us share the word and share what people are doing. So thank you, and we'll see you next week at 9:30 a.m. for the show with no name. And so I'm Adaire Palmer, and she is
Theonie Roussianos, the cat's mother, Theonie Roussianos.
Well, if I said Theonie, that just doesn't sound right.
Bye for now.